Big Sean sat across from Jay Shetty and said something that stopped me cold. He said at the height of his career, with the awards, the money, and the recognition, he looked up one day and didn't even recognize himself. Not because the industry had changed him overnight, but because it happened slowly. One compromise at a time, one yes when he meant no, one boundary he let slide because it wasn't worth the fight. And I need you as an independent artist to hear this, because what happened to Big Sean is happening to independent artists every single day. Of course, just without the platinum plaques to show for it. What's good, everybody? I'm DJ Ples Jones, and this is part 2 of Big Sean's conversation with Jay Shetty, and how it taught me more about artist immunity, and how it directly connects to the framework that I built to protect independent artists just like you. So let's talk about point 1, where it's about not losing yourself. Don't lose yourself. Here's the first thing Big Sean said that I couldn't shake. He talked about a moment deep into his career where he realized he had been so focused on output, on the music, on the brand, that he had completely disconnected from who he actually was. Not who the label wanted him to be, not who the fans expected, but who he actually was. Now I want you to sit with that for a second. Let's just let it land. Because I've talked to hundreds of independent artists, and the number one thing I hear is some version of this. You know, I love the music, but I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. So let's talk about how that connects to the artist immunity blueprint. That feeling has a name. It's called identity erosion. And it's one of the first signs of burnout that nobody talks about, because from the outside, everything still looks fine. You're still posting, you're still releasing, you're still showing up every day. But inside, you started making decisions based on what other people think instead of what you actually feel. Big Sean had to consciously go back and reconnect with his passions. Not the career, not the strategy, his actual passions. The things that made him fall in love with music in the first place. And I can relate to that. So what's the takeaway? Well, here's my question for you right now. When was the last time you made something with zero intention of posting it? When? When was the last time you felt like the music was yours again? If you can't answer that question quickly, that's the sign. That's where we start rebuilding. Let's talk about point 2, setting boundaries. The second thing that Big Sean talked about, and this one hits different for us as independent artists specifically, was setting boundaries. Now, I know that word gets thrown around all the time and it's annoying, right? But he wasn't talking about those soft, motivational poster version of boundaries. He was talking about the hard ones, the ones that cost you something. The boundary with the manager who doesn't respect your creative vision. The boundary with the collaborator who takes more than they give. The boundary with that label that keeps post this way. No, this way. The boundary with the fan who feels entitled to your time and energy 24/7. Now, let's connect that to the artist immunity blueprint. Here's what I've learned after 20 years of being in this industry. Most independent artists don't have a talent problem. They have a boundary problem. They say yes to everything because they're afraid saying no means what? FOMO, fear of missing out, right? They'll miss the opportunity. They pour everything into people who haven't earned it. They perform for free for the exposure that never comes. And slowly, without realizing it, they train people around them to treat them exactly the way they keep allowing. I'll repeat that. You, as an independent artist, train people around you to be treated exactly the way that you keep allowing. Big Sean talked about how learning to set real boundaries wasn't just about protecting his energy. It was about respecting himself enough to decide what he actually deserved. And that is what I want for you. Not the version of you that hustles until you break. The version of you that knows your worth before anyone else does and operates from that place every single day. Because boundaries aren't walls, they're the line between who you are and who this industry is trying to turn you into. I'll repeat that. Boundaries aren't walls, they're the line between who you are and who this music industry is trying to turn you into. So let's talk about point 3, giving up music. And then Big Sean said something that I wasn't ready for. He talked about the moment that he seriously considered giving up music altogether. Not as a dramatic statement, not for the attention. He was genuinely done. Because when you've been in it long enough and you've given everything, and the industry has taken everything, there comes a point where you ask yourself, is this even worth it? And if you've ever asked yourself that question, I need you to know something. That question doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that you are depleted. And there's a difference. Because weakness gives up. Depletion needs to be refilled. What Big Sean found and what I built in the Artist Immunity Blueprint is that when artists reach that edge, it's almost never about the music. It's about everything surrounding the music that was never protected. The energy, the identity, the boundaries, the community, the nervous system. When those things are in place, you don't give up. You reset. You recalibrate. And you come back even stronger because now you're building immunity, not just survival. Big Sean didn't give up, and he said it himself. The work he did on himself is what saved his career. Not the next deal, not the next feature, the internal work. And that's what I'm here to help you to do. So if anything from this video this week hit home, the identity piece, the boundary piece, or that feeling of almost walking away, I want to put something in your hands today. It's called the Artist Immunity Starter Kit. It's just $27. And that's the first real step inside the framework I've built to help independent artists protect their peace, reconnect with their purpose, and build a career that actually sustains them. Inside, you're going to find the 5-day grounding reset journal, boundary scripts that you can use immediately, a creative safety checklist, reset audios, and so much more. And it's not theory, it's the actual tools. So the link's in the bio, $27, and it might be the most important $27 you spend on your music career this year. I'm DJ Ples Jones, and I'll see you next week.